Okay, in this episode we're going to take a look at how to introduce your new fish to your NANOREEF aquarium. This is an extremely stressful time for the new additions to your tank. And the amount of stress that they're subjected to can make the difference between a successful introduction of fish and one that ends in disaster. Looking around at various resources, the drip method is often advocated as being the best method of acclimatising your fish. I used to import fish in huge numbers wholesale. And in that situation where these fish have been bagged and boxed up for well over 24 hours, and you need to acclimatise a large number of fish quickly, safely and efficiently, yes, the drip acclimatisation method is the way to go. But I do have one or two issues with it when you're just introducing one or two fish to a home aquarium. First of all, let's talk about what acclimatisation actually is. Now, where normal tropical freshwater fish are concerned, your main concern is temperature, is just acclimatising the temperature of the water in the bag that the fish came in with the temperature of the water in the tank. And you do have to do that with marine fish. But more importantly, with marine fish, you have to take into consideration the differences in water chemistry between the water that's in that bag and the water that's in your tank. The main factor being salinity. If the salinity of the tank water differs too much from the salinity of the water in the bag, the fish can go into what is known as osmotic shock. So what we need to do is fairly quickly and efficiently acclimatise them to any differences in salinity from that they've been used to that they're actually going into. Now, working on the assumption that the fish won't have been in that bag for any more than 2 hours. Generally speaking, you'll have bought these from your local fish shop and it's probably less than an hour away. Travelling time from the source that you bought those fish from should be considered very carefully. Now, usually with the drip method, what you'll be told to do is float the bag for 20 minutes or half an hour and then dispense the fish and the water into some sort of container like a bowl or a jug. And then to very slowly, using some sort of flexible tubing with a clamp on it, drip water into that jug to gradually increase the volume of water in the jug using the water from the tank to steadily bring up the parameters of the water that the fish are in close to the parameters of the water that's in the tank. So the fish have cooled down in the bag in transit to your home. You then warm the water back up. You then pour it into a jug where it begins to cool down again. And using the drip method, the water that is going into that jug is going in so slowly that the whole volume of water in that jug then again begins to cool down. This means that when you've finished acclimatisation, the water temperature again would have dropped substantially. And this entire process from plopping the bag into the tank to warm it up to actually introducing your acclimatised fish in the aquarium can take about an hour. These fish are intelligent little creatures, and what has happened during the course of that hour is that the stress levels have gone sky high. Not only that, over the last couple of hours they've been cooled down, warmed back up, cooled down again, and then suddenly put into warmer water when you finally introduce them into the tank, which means they will be subjected to a very sudden thermal shock. To keep stress levels as low as possible, the whole procedure from arriving home with your new additions to your tank to actually releasing them into the tank shouldn't take any more than half an hour. That will keep what is a very stressful procedure for a fish to an absolute minimum. And the method that I advocate is what is commonly known as the floating bag trick. Now, in order to film this procedure, I had to have some lighting, otherwise the camera quite simply wouldn't have been able to pick it up. I would advise that you turn the lights completely off in your tank. Fish will feel safer in a darkened room. Perhaps even draw the curtains in the room. And then gently unfasten the top of the bag and roll the top of the bag down, a bit like you would if you were rolling the sleeves of your shirt up. And roll it down so that the bag is at least half its normal length. Now that roll traps air and it also keeps the opening of the bag open. It stops it from collapsing in on itself. And what you've done is you've actually created like a little flotation chamber on the top of the bag that keeps it upright in the tank and stops the water in the tank uncontrollably mixing with the water in the bag. Generally speaking, there will be more water in that bag than is ideal, and you don't want to put any of that water that's in that bag into your tank. It might contain copper, which you definitely don't want in your tank, or there could be other nasties in it. Either way, pour some of that water into a jug. Don't try and pour it down the sink or down the toilet, because if you get it wrong, you could end up losing one of your fish. And leave about a cupful of water in the bag and float it back in the tank again. Then leave it for about 5 minutes to start bringing the water temperature back up. Obviously that low volume of water in the bag will allow it to warm up gradually but faster than if you had a higher volume of water in it. When 5 minutes has elapsed, scoop some of the water from your tank into that bag. Do it in such a way that the water doesn't come out of the bag, water only enters the bag from the tank. And then gently swirl the bag so that those two different waters mix. Repeat this procedure 3 times over a 15-minute period. So you do this every 5 minutes for 15 minutes. And what you're looking to do is increase the volume of water in that bag from 1 cup gradually to 3 cups. Now this sounds like a lot over a 15-minute period, but it really isn't. The actual differences in parameters between the two bodies of waters will be minimal, and doing it this way does give the fish plenty of time to adjust each time you put more water into the bag. Now on the third and final adjustment, leave the bag to rest floating in the tank for 5 minutes before going any further. So the total adjustment time has now been approximately 20 minutes. So that's 5 minutes floating for temperature adjustment, 5 minutes between water adjustments, and then a further 5 minutes for them to acclimatise to the last adjustment. And the beauty of this method, doing it this way, is that the temperature in the bag when you've finished will be exactly the same as the temperature in the tank. Now don't be tempted to take this method any further. If this entire process takes more than 30 minutes, there is a danger that the fish are going to suffer from excessive stress, which again is a problem associated with the drip method. Now 5 minutes after your final adjustment, it's time to introduce your new fish into the new aquarium. The safest and most humane way of doing this is to catch them in your hands and gently release them. Don't pour any of that water into your tank. Catching them or pouring them into a net is a cruel way of doing it. Again, it greatly exacerbates stress. Nets can cause damage to fins and scales, which are likely to cause problems later on. It goes without saying, make sure that your hands are clean and that they've been rinsed really well under running fresh water, no soap. And this whole procedure represents the very best care that you can possibly observe for your fish at introduction time. For the remainder of the day, do not put the lights back on. Leave the lights off until the following day. This gives your new fish time to get used to the surroundings, time for the stress levels to come down, and basically just allows them time to settle in. Do not attempt to feed them on the first day in the tank. Leave everything until the day after, walk away, and just leave them to calm down and settle in. Discard the water from the bag, and that's the job finished. This should leave you with 2 healthy, well-adjusted fish, and you should now not look to introduce any more fish for at least 1 month. Your tank may have cycled, but it's cycled without any fish in it, and those fish are now putting a load on it, and the system needs to catch up to be able to meet the demand that load is putting on it. It may go through a very slight sort of mini cycle while that takes place. This is normal. Keep feeding to a minimum. I'll cover that in the next video. And above all, be patient. Right, that's it for this week. Thank you so much for watching this video and helping to support this new channel. I really do appreciate it. I hope you've enjoyed this video and found it useful. If you have, please subscribe and leave a like. If you are subscribed, don't forget to hit the notification button so that you can be informed every time I upload a new video. With the current worldwide emergency going on, things are difficult for all of us. Please take care, look after yourselves and look after others around you. I'll be back next week, so until then, please stay safe and I'll see you soon.